8, 9, 10. Good evening, everybody. It's Chris here from the Whistle Stop Cafe in Mirror, Alberta. I'm reading a book today, a little bit, trying to. I actually read this book, the whole thing, when I was 14 years old, when I was in ground school to get my pilot's license when I was in Air Cadets. And I didn't finish it. So now I got to do it again. But that's okay. I really enjoy aviation. I love airplanes, and I'm happy that I was able to buy this a few months ago and read 8 pages of it so far because I'm so darn busy. Anyway, yeah, it's been fairly busy. Before I get going too much, it seems as though the sound is good. But if you don't mind, folks, please just pop a little hello, yes, I can hear you, or no, I can't hear you in the comments. And while you're at it, why don't you just let me know where you're watching from? That's always really neat to do that. And I'm trying something different today, which is this little thing here. All the comments will be shown live. I got that inspiration from my friend Tiana. I watched her live stream a little bit tonight, and she had that on there, and I thought that was a great idea. If you haven't already, make sure you go check out her page. She just did a podcast on like the origins of the COVID stuff, and it's quite good. I hope I get some time to watch the rest of it later on, but if you folks get a chance to, go check it out. Truth Seeker is her handle. So a bunch of things that I wanted to talk about. I put them in the description. So I do need another favor from you folks. Because I can't go and just look at the description right now, I'm going to forget everything I wanted to talk about. So if you don't mind, put it in the comments for me. Maybe put some asterisks beside it or something like that. Let me know what we're going to talk about next. I'll try and watch the comment section as best I can, even though I usually really suck at that, but I'm going to try. Today, when I got home from our trip to Oyen yesterday, we had a meeting in Oyen, a town hall, where we were discussing Alberta independence. And specifically, we wanted to hear from people that were opposed to Alberta independence. We wanted to hear their questions, their concerns, their oppositions, whatever, and have a discussion. It was fantastic. Similar to every event that we've done so far since I kind of rolled this out a few weeks ago. The room was full. I had to put out more chairs. That's kind of common what we're seeing. The rooms are always full. And, you know, I got to say, I've spoken to rooms of, what's the biggest one? I guess 1,800 or something like that. Pretty big room. And as few as 8 when people just were busy doing other things. So to see rooms full with people who are engaged, wanting to talk about these things, have these conversations, and learn something, so they can take that, you know, that knowledge into their lives and share it with others. That's absolutely fantastic. So I got home from that this morning. They were nice enough to get us a hotel room, so we didn't have to drive home in the middle of the night. We got home today, and I kind of did some puttering, went and set up a little bit of my office that I rented in town here. Small office, not super expensive, as most things aren't in Mirror, Alberta. But I wanted to get a little bit organized and start taking care of my paperwork better. So we got this little office, and we're going to need it because we have a lot going on. And when I say we, I'm not just talking about the Whistle Stop Cafe. I'm talking about this whole movement that's interested in Alberta's future. So I did that, and I got to digging through some stuff in the attic and cleaning out some things. And I had some real blasts from the past. I found a couple boxes that used to be my nightstand, which is pretty exciting. But the most exciting part was, you know, some of the pictures and knickknacks and stuff that my kids drew like 18 years ago. I went through a bunch of that stuff. That was absolutely fantastic. And I was going to share some of that stuff with you, and I decided not to because it's just mine. It's my memories, my kids, right? But I found some other cool things. I found this. Does anybody know what these are? Can you see them very well? They're kind of shiny. Can you tell? Do you know what those are? So these are 1 ounce minted silver coins from the Royal Canadian Mint. They're 2004, just maple leaf silver coins. I was given these silver coins back in I want to say 2020 or 2021, 2021 or 2022, when things were really exciting with my restaurant. Pay attention to what Albertan is saying, folks. That's very important. Very important to know this. I'm going to leave it up for a second. So I was given these coins by somebody who just appreciated what I was doing, using my voice and standing up for myself and trying to stand up for others and so on. So he gave me these. At that time, I'm just going to do a quick search here, and I'm going to tell you for sure. Let's see if someone can put it up in the comments and get it done quicker. What was the price of silver in 2022? Let's see if you're faster than me. You're not. I got it. It was around $20, between $20 and $23 an ounce. So these 5 coins were worth about $100. Now, I'm not 100% sure what silver's at, but I believe it was somewhere around $120 an ounce. Like maybe yesterday or a couple days ago or something like that. So now these 5 coins are worth between $500 or between $600 and $650. Now, what does that tell you? That silver is worth more? Yeah, sure, it's worth a little bit more. I think it speaks a little bit about our dollar and the strength of it as well. And I only mention this because as I looked at these coins, it's hard to keep them in the frame. Sorry, I'm talking about these 1 ounce minted silver coins. As I was looking at these coins, I started to kind of ponder the things. Why do we put value on certain things? Why do we put the value of $120 on these coins instead of, $50 or $500? And if you get thinking about it, $120, if you earn $120, you're exchanging time to make that money, right? That's what you're doing. You're exchanging minutes and hours and days out of your life, because you will have a finite amount of those, for those things. You have to exchange a lot of hours of your life to buy a car or a truck. I'm shopping for a minivan. It's hard to say. I'm shopping for one of those, and I was thinking, a minivan's $20,000, $30,000, maybe decent monthly payment. No, they're like $50,000 or $60,000. It's absolutely insane. And I'm talking something that's fairly new because I don't want to buy anything else with problems. That's kind of the point. The amount of value that you have to create and time you have to exchange to buy that vehicle is absolutely insane. The amount of time you have to exchange by creating value to pay the government to exist is absolutely insane. I can't remember exactly what it is. Someone put it in the comments, please, if you don't mind. What date do Albertans start actually earning for themselves? So basically, you work the first, I think, 6 months or so of the year to pay your taxes to all levels of bureaucracy. And then once you're done that, you earn for yourself and you get about another 6 months or 5 months or something of value creation for yourself. That's insane. So every dollar you earn that you get to spend on yourself or your family, you actually have to exchange enough time to earn $2, because $1 of that is compelled away from you by the government in the form of taxes. That's a pretty immoral thing, I believe. I actually, to put it plainly, I believe that income tax in itself is immoral. I don't believe that anyone should be allowed to compel a man or a woman to give a portion of the value they create to anybody. It should be done through consumption taxes and other things, but that's kind of beside the point. But I'm wondering about this, and then I'm starting to look at this from the perspective of what are we trading our time for? We only have a certain amount of time on this earth, right? Going through my nightstand and some of those photos and pictures that my kids drew, and thinking about the time that I've exchanged for certain things in my life, I wish I could say that I didn't have regrets, but I have a lot of them. I really do. I gave up a lot of my short life in pursuing things that really don't matter. They don't. And now I think about this in the context of a really busy person who's planned or working with a team now to plan what's going to end up being close to 300 events from now until October 19th. I'm going to exchange a lot of my time to try and make a positive impact on Alberta, to believe, to advocate for what I believe in, to try and be the change that I want to see in the world. Right? I'm going to exchange a lot of time. Is it worth it? Of course, because the result that I'm looking for will be way more beneficial to my children than I could probably ever imagine. So it's worth it. And all that to say, maybe just ponder a little bit on what you're exchanging your limited time for, and if it's worth it. And maybe if everyone does that, we can do some really important things and make a big difference. That's all I want to say about that. Speaking of time and value, here's a blast from the past. Check this puppy out. Do you know what that says? Does anybody know what the Swiss Hotel is? Room 307 in the Swiss Hotel. Yeah, I knew you'd know. The Swiss Hotel was kind of ground zero from the logistical support team that made everything happen in Ottawa in 2022 during the Freedom Convoy. I stayed at that hotel. I was a fly on the wall in most meetings. I would get up quite early and go to the logistics meetings at the Swiss Hotel with the people that were taking care of things like the stage and security for things, and liaising with the RCMP, financial stuff, like you name it. So I heard a lot of things and saw a lot of things that many people wouldn't. After those meetings, I would walk across town, walk to downtown over to the Arc Hotel, and I would sit in the meetings there with my friends, often with my friends Chris Barber and Tamara and Tom Razzo and some others. And so I heard a lot of stuff there too. It was pretty neat. And as I looked at this key for my room in the Swiss Hotel, where we spent just about, I think almost 3 weeks, like 2.5 weeks or something like that. This flood of memories came back of how amazing that time was and the things that were accomplished in that hotel and in Ottawa. And I think about the time that all of those people exchanged to be the change they want to see in the world. Some of them ended up exchanging a lot more time because they sat in jail for months for their crime of protesting. Some of them are still going through that stuff. Was it worth it? If you ask them, they will all say, yes, it was absolutely worth it. Yeah, lots of really good memories there. Now, I did ask for you guys to put in the comment section what stuff I said I was going to talk about. The comments are going by so quickly, I can't see them. So I'm just going to go over to my Facebook real quick, and I'm going to have a peek. What did I say? There we go. Okay, let's get on to my thoughts about things that are happening, current events. Our Prime Minister, Mark Carney, had a little visit with India. And the takeaway from this was that India is very excited to send another 60 million immigrants to Canada. I mean, they say we have the space, they have the intellect, they have the skills, we need them. We should just take these 60 million immigrants. Indian people are fantastic. They have really good work ethic. They are good business people. They seem to be super interested in going to school and getting degrees and stuff like that and contributing in a meaningful way. But I wonder what Canada might look like if we brought in 60 million people who weren't from Canada. I wonder what the country would look like. And we all know that the country is changing. It doesn't look like it used to. I think we have more Indian immigrants in Canada than all of the United States. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing, but I'm just saying things are changing. We can go to cities, and there are districts in almost every city that are predominantly or like just about 100% one ethnicity. And it's almost like other people aren't really supposed to be there or allowed to be there. It's creating this kind of odd odd compartmentalized society that we never really thought we'd see in Canada, because Canada is supposed to be this mosaic and we're all pursuing the same things or whatever. But maybe that's not quite happening. There's another kind of people that are coming to Canada, and they're not the kind of people that are industrious and want to contribute and build something for themselves. They want to go somewhere where they're taken care of. And we have a lot of those kind of people too. To the point where our own services here are strained, and our government has been asking Albertans, and some in some other provinces of Canada have as well, what do we want to do about this? What we have an issue with too many people and not enough services. We can't build fast enough. So what do you guys want to do? And Albertans resoundingly said, take control of immigration. Do it now. We're tired of watching people, immigrants, by the way, dying in the ER because they can't get services. Here's an interesting tidbit. I didn't ask if I could talk about this, so I'll be very vague. But today is the anniversary of the passing of one of my friend's daughters. I believe she was about my age. I didn't know her. We're not super close friends. I know them through other people. But their daughter passed away tragically and actually very quickly of liver failure, or pardon me, kidney failure. She went to the hospital and to the emergency room with like severe pain and knew something was wrong. And she sat there for quite a while, gave up, much like I did when I got hit by a train and went to the hospital, and she went home. Well, the pain got worse and worse and worse. She went back the next day. She sat in the ER again for something like 7 or 8 hours until she became like dire. They rushed her to ICU and she died, just like that. Well, this, I want to say young woman, about my age, she worked in an industry that mandated certain things. And so those certain things were very likely done so that she could keep her job, as many people did. And a short while later, just unexplained organ failure and dead within a matter of hours. It's the anniversary of that, her passing today. So I thought maybe I would mention that. I don't know why I mentioned that. Maybe it's because I just watched Jason Levine's production of The Shot, Sean Hartman's story about a young boy who wanted to play hockey. So he did what the government said to do, took a medical intervention that the government told him was safe and effective, and passed away less than a month later. How many of you heard stories like that? As a matter of fact, I was sitting right beside one of the folks that's in the comment section right now. I'm sure he's got a lot to say about it because he was just as fired up as I was. I want to let you guys know, we heard this phrase safe and effective from the government and media for a long time, right? It was in every newspaper, every global and CTV and CBC news story, everything. Safe and effective, safe and effective, safe and effective. Do you wonder where that phrase came from? This is kind of this is brought to my mind because of watching Tiana and her expose on how this stuff around COVID happened. Did you know that the pharmaceutical manufacturers never once said that their product was safe and effective? Not once. Pfizer never once said that their product was safe for pregnant and nursing women. They never did any testing. And as a matter of fact, I didn't know this before. There is no testing with drugs done on pregnant and nursing women. That's why almost every single drug, almost every single pharmaceutical has a warning in there not to use if you're pregnant or nursing, or talk to your doctor if you're pregnant or nursing, because there hasn't been any testing. And the reason why there's no testing is because it is considered immoral to test anything on a pregnant woman, because there are 2 lives there, one of which cannot advocate for itself. Almost as if that life that's in there is sacred and nothing should be done to harm it. But that's a totally another story. Government started saying safe and effective. Pharmaceutical manufacturers never said that. As a matter of fact, in their own literature and their own testing, they gave the results clearly. They tried to seal it for 15 years, by the way. But they gave the results, and the results said, no, it's actually not safe nor effective. And they knew that. But our government and our politicians parroted that phrase to us over and over and over, almost as if some people had some sort of a interest in pushing that narrative and making sure that more people took that medical intervention that they didn't need, that they wouldn't otherwise have sought out. How many of you have lined up to go and get something like that, like a flu shot? We just don't, because we know from our own circles, go get the flu shot, you get the flu. Go get the flu shot, you get really sick. So we don't do it because we don't need it. But our government told us to. None of them have been held accountable as of yet. Sean Hartman's father, Dan Hartman, has not had any closure, no accountability, no nothing, not even an apology from government or pharmaceutical manufacturer, nobody, for the death of his son. And as I watched that movie, and now today, as I'm going through my old nightstand drawer box thing, and I'm looking at pictures of my children when they're just little, it terrifies me that that could happen, but more so that our government and our politicians, our health practitioners, would all conspire to make those things happen and then pretend it didn't. We saw that very plainly. If you haven't seen that, Jason Levine is doing a few more showings. You can find it on his Facebook page. He's got the schedule. I think I put the schedule up on my Facebook page as well, so you can find it there. Go watch the movie. Buy a copy of it and show your friends. This is one of those things where I hear this all the time. Oh, you're still talking about COVID? Well, yeah, you probably would still be talking about it as well if you had witnessed the things I did. You certainly would be still talking about it if you were in Dan Hartman's shoes and tragically lost your son to that whole fiasco. So yeah, we got to continue talking about it for sure, to make sure it never happens again. But alas, it will happen again because people are stupid. And there's nothing new under the sun. This has been happening for thousands of years. We have advocated for doctors to drill holes in heads, bloodlet, burn people at the stake, give pregnant women thalidomide because it was safe and effective, and it was fine for pregnant and nursing women. Totally wasn't. I was being sarcastic. We've had doctors prescribe cigarettes. We used to have doctors prescribing speed in the 1950s to overworked housewives so they would have energy for their husbands when they got home. And we still live in this fantasy world where all of these people who have financial benefits from these things just so happen to always have our best interests in mind, even though it might influence their pocketbook. I say that with a straight face because I rarely smile anyway. But I'm going to say this for the record. Those people, politicians, pharmaceutical manufacturers, some health practitioners do not have your best interests in mind. They have themselves in mind, their stock price, and their revenue, period. And you are a disposable product you're a disposable product, kind of like a key to access the tax trough treasure chest. They use you and they get what they want. They get money, they get power, and all of those things. And they don't really care if you die. So there's my opinion on that. But we should move on because I'm actually getting a little bit enraged thinking about what Dan must be going through right now. And I really need to change the subject. So let's move on to something that doesn't trigger anybody at all ever. We're going to talk about Indians, not East Indians. We're going to talk about North American Indians. Fantastic human beings, rich culture, rich heritage, awesome people, but being used by those who stand to benefit from your enslavement in order to expedite your enslavement. Recently, the Supreme Court of Canada granted title to a First Nations, which they weren't actually the First Nation there, by the way, but that's another story. A First Nations group in British Columbia. The area of land that they granted title to is home to 1.8 million people in the Lower Mainland. Encompasses parts of Vancouver, Surrey, Burnaby, Richmond. I mean, these are pretty densely populated areas with homes and land that's worth in the millions to start. The Supreme Court of Canada just granted title to that group of people. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that in this country in which you don't have property rights, I was waiting for somebody to challenge me on that. You don't have property rights in Canada. By the way, if you don't believe me, try and find it in the Constitution. You can't find it. Our Supreme Court, which is the supreme law of the land, can give your stuff away if they determine somebody else at one point roamed the land and caught some rabbits there. And of course, I'm being facetious there. They did more than that. But my point is, there's been trillions of dollars of development in the lower mainland of British Columbia. And now, because somebody existed there at one point, our government is just fine to give that land and stuff away. Absolutely unreal, ridiculous. I was publicly, publicly scoffed at for talking about the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People and the way it was going to open the door to you will own nothing and be happy. I said, and we said, Carrie and I did multiple webinars about this with multiple guests talking about UNDRIP. We said this is going to be used to strip people of their property rights, and it's not going to go well. People think that they're doing something so virtuous by, advocating for people whose land was stolen. The land wasn't stolen, by the way. And they're being so empathetic. They're being so empathetic that they're willing to sacrifice their own lives and futures and property for that, even without all the facts. And here we go. It's happening in BC. It's going to happen other places as well. They're not going to stop because who wouldn't want to file a lawsuit like that and get title to some of the most densely populated and expensive land in the country? Of course, they're going to keep doing it. Very shortly, most of BC, as far as I know right now, you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, most of BC right now is under some sort of claim from one First Nations group or other. All of Kamloops is under a claim that's being litigated in court. And it's just not going to stop. It's not going to. What is it going to do? Is this going to benefit people? Is it going to benefit the First Nations groups? Do you think that 1.8 million people who no longer or are wondering if they actually own their property at all? P.S. By the way, you don't own your property regardless. Do you think it's going to make them? It's going to divide more between them and the First Nations group, or do you think this is some sort of reconciliation that's going to be a unifying moment for British Columbia? It's not. If you think for 1 minute that those Indian gangs that have been talked about in British Columbia that are extorting people and like mafia-like stuff going on, if you think for 1 minute that they're going to allow this to stand and you think it's going to be peaceful, I don't know, you just haven't been paying attention to things at all in the last little while. This is not going to go well. Thankfully, British Columbia grew some balls and they formed the British Columbia Prosperity Project, an independence movement in British Columbia to get out from under the corrupt Supreme Court of Canada, enforcing a constitution that we didn't write, that doesn't have our best interests in mind, and doesn't include property rights. With a little bit of luck and a lot of hard work, British Columbia might be successful at that. They're doing the same thing as Alberta is. And that, by the way, is why I'm traveling around the province having these town halls. Because, what's that? Oh, yeah, thanks, Albertan, for putting up the little schedule I wrote. But I lost my train of thought. Because Alberta is the front runner here. They are the trailblazer. They're the ones that are going to be leaders in showing the rest of the people of Canada that, no, you don't have to live like this, and we can be sovereign and chart our own course forward without ridiculous, suicidal empathy infiltrating every level of government and the Supreme Court. Anyway, enough on that. I'll get back to it if you have questions in the comment section. If you do have questions, please remember to put question marks up so I can easily find them. Which political party was in power when Canada agreed to the UN SDGs? Someone put that up there. I know what it is. I want to see if you know who it is. You're going to be very surprised if you don't know. Next thing. Alberta First Nations. That were not actually first. Perform parlor tricks. Vote of non-confidence. And when I say parlor tricks, I mean like they're making something look like it's real, but it's not. In Alberta, there's groups of First Nations chiefs that got together and did a vote of non-confidence in Danielle Smith and the USP government. What does that mean? A vote of non-confidence. That's terrible, right? That means the government's going to topple. We can't have that. That's a big thing. Let's break it down. 6% of Alberta's population took 0.005% of those people, and they had a vote to say that they don't like our government or Danielle Smith. How relevant is that? On a scale of 1 to 10, it is a 0. It's not relevant at all. We know that they don't like Danielle Smith. As a matter of fact, I don't think First Nations groups particularly like Ottawa as well, nor should they. Ottawa, the Crown, and First Nations groups are signatories to treaties that have never really been properly executed by Ottawa or the First Nations groups, by the way, because part of the agreement in the treaties is that the First Nations groups, those treaty Indians that traditionally occupied that territory and used it to meet their needs, they were allowed to hunt, fish, gather, do all the things that they normally did on that land to sustain themselves anywhere except settlements or where there was development happening. Now, every time there's development, you see a blockade and people saying the answer is no, and it always will be. Oh, sorry, that was BC, but we get the same thing here in Alberta. My point is the treaties haven't been acknowledged or really fulfilled by either side. And it's complete bullshit. And everybody knows it, but everyone's too scared to talk about it because you're going to be called a racist for just identifying that something's wrong. Well, I've been called all the ists. You can call me all the ists you want, but it would probably be better to debate me on the topic or my opinions rather than just try and silence me by scaring me with some sort of a label. I don't really give a shit what you label me as. Just don't call me late for dinner. You know that I'm never late for dinner if you've seen the size of my belly. Anyway, so it really means nothing. It's a show. It's something for the media to latch onto. You know how they do that? You know how when the media agrees with something, like they don't like a conservative government, so when a bunch of lunatics, I shouldn't say lunatics, I have to be nicer. When a bunch of when a bunch of disgruntled people file a bunch of bogus recall petitions and they all, there's the media is, oh my goodness, the government's going to topple. These recall petitions are happening and it's happening. And this is what happens when you're an irresponsible government. So many stories about it. Everybody's talking about it. When they all fail miserably in a most pathetic display of non-support for those petitions possible, there's like a sidebar on an article about something else that someone probably isn't going to read anyway. But that's what they do, right? They take these things, they latch onto it, and they try and make it the news. Well, First Nations chiefs having a vote and not liking Danielle Smith means nothing. Absolutely nothing. However, if you want to dig into that a little deeper, you'll see that there are people in positions of authority and power within First Nations groups who have benefited tremendously from the status quo, in that they live in mansions, they drive nice cars, they have money, all those things, good pensions, are dead set against the idea of Alberta independence. They want to keep the status quo. They want to keep the agreements they have with Ottawa because those agreements have treated them so well, not the people who are subject to, let's go through this again. 3 times more likely to commit suicide, 5 to 6 times higher to commit youth suicide, 1.5 times more likely to experience a violent victimization, 8 times higher homicide rate, 6 times higher crime rate, 2 to 3 times higher instance of domestic violence, much higher poverty, way lower university, way higher mental health and addiction, something like 4 to 6 times higher, and a life expectancy anywhere from 5 to 19 years less than somebody who is not First Nations and living off reserve. Those are the things that are okay to the people who are making all the money and living great lifestyles with the status quo. So all you have to do is scratch just a little bit down below the surface and talk about these things, and all of a sudden it becomes very clear why certain individuals are opposed to the idea of making anything better, because it's not going to make anything better for them. It will probably level the playing field and make things a little bit worse for them, but it's going to elevate, tens of thousands of people up to out of those situations. So think about that next time you hear about the First Nations chiefs having a vote of non-confidence, or, as for the next subject, filing for injunctive relief against democracy. Yes, you heard that right. There are First Nations groups in Alberta who are suing to force the government to not allow the citizens of Alberta to petition for a referendum on independence. They're saying it violates the treaties. Well, I would argue that they violate the treaties as well, but that's beside the point. But what they're really saying is, because we have treaties with the Crown that existed between 1876 to 1899, depending which treaty it is, because of that, Albertans are no longer allowed to participate in the democratic process. Albertans are no longer allowed to petition their government to ask questions. Albertans are no longer allowed to explore the idea of sovereignty. Now, all this without even mentioning that the treaties have already survived jurisdictional or letterhead changes a number of times within Canada. The first time, of course, was in 1905 when Alberta and Saskatchewan were created. They weren't created when the treaties were written. It was the Northwest Territories, but lo and behold, it changed hands and we became Alberta and Saskatchewan with our own governments. And then in 1931, the Land and Resources Transfer Act transferred jurisdiction, transferred control of resources and land from the Crown to the province, the people of Alberta. The treaties survived that. 1982, Pierre Elliott Trudeau repatriated the Constitution, actually patriated it because it wasn't actually patriated before, patriated the Constitution, included the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, completely changed the face of Canada and our laws, by the way, and its impacts on the treaties, and the treaties survived that. When Alberta becomes independent, there's no reason why the treaties couldn't survive that as well. They could, if they want to. I don't think they should. I think it's up to the First Nations groups who signed the treaties and the federal government. If I had any say or any skin in the game, which I don't, I would be advocating for change and redoing that, because it's obviously failed on more than one in more than one way because of these statistics. That is not something that anybody should be advocating for, but it's up to them. Will they get the injunctive relief they ask for? I don't know. Judging from the suicidal empathy we see coming out of our courts and their willingness to sacrifice the country in order to settle a debt that doesn't actually exist in the first place, it might just work. We might end up with a ruling in mid-April that says that we got to stop collecting signatures and we can't have a referendum. Well, I can tell you right now what I will do. I will go set up a table and chair, if you're allowed to do that, right on the legislature grounds, and I will collect signatures, because under no circumstances are we going to ever allow anybody to say that we can't exercise our democratic will in this province and this country, even if that democratic will results in the province seceding. Democracy doesn't really give a crap how you feel about your flag. Democracy is the will of the people. And if the will of the people can't be expressed in a way like a referendum, it'll just happen in another way. And maybe it won't be as pleasant, but why would we want to do that? That's not what this country is about. That's not what our democracy is about. Democracy is about having the choices. So we should be allowed the choice. Moving on. Oh, I did 2 in 1. That's awesome. Right on. Okay, next thing. Yes, the hops extract stuff that I've been talking about is actually real and it does work. It is an MLM structure, an affiliate marketing structure thing. And I can see why now. It's because it needs a story and it needs people using it to share it with others. I have good results with my use, but even more impressive, I've signed up like 101 or 104 people or something like that. And a lot of these folks have been on for a month or 6 weeks, and they're starting to call me and tell me about their results. And it's like, it's amazing. At first, I was nervous and downright scared to talk about it because nobody likes anything MLM, right? But the idea of this product was like, and it's just a hops extract. It's really nothing spectacular, but nobody else has it. The idea of talking about it was frightening because obviously when you do MLM stuff, nobody likes you anymore. But I got over that and I shared it with some people, and now they have some fantastic results. Some of the people that are on my team now, they have results like one, for instance, she has much reduced brain fog, and she's struggled with anxiety and things like this for a while. Reduction in anxiety. She's sleeping through the night, and she uses way less CBD than she used to. And I don't have a problem with CBD. That's a nature's medicine. But if you can replace or reduce your reliance on medicines by making your body or triggering your body to do what your body's supposed to do naturally, why wouldn't you do it? It's worked great for her. Another one I just talked to a few days ago, she doesn't really sleep. She hasn't slept proper in, I think she said 35 years or something like that. Always up and, never really a good night's sleep. She sleeps now. Why? Because this stuff puts your body in rest and digest. It's actually working. Other people, they're managing their diabetes because their body's doing what it's supposed to do. Their blood glucose levels are mostly under control, and they're limiting the interventions they have to do with things like insulin. All sorts of interesting responses back from the people that I've shared this with. And so I'm happy that I did, because obviously if you're having those kind of results, your life is changing in a good way. So my getting over my fear of talking to people about something that's a MLM structure, an affiliate marketing structure, has resulted in people's lives being improved. And that's what this is all about, right? That's why we have conversations. That's why we share stuff, because we want to do things to improve each other's life, whether it's Alberta independence or matured bitter hops extracts. We talk about it. It makes a difference. So yes, it is. Oh, look, there's actually people in the comment section talking about it right now. I'm going to put a link in there in a little bit. And if you want to try something that's potentially going to have some life-changing results for you, not because it's some magic potion, but because your body will do what your body was created to do in the first place, just check it out. I'll help you through it. And the other part of it, the whole thing with MLMs, oh, you can never make money on it. That's a load of crap, because I make money on it simply by sharing and helping people out with, taking sovereign control of their health. It actually does work. And I'm happy to talk with you about that as well. After that, I said, read that last point again. Yes, this stuff actually does work. It's the real deal. The MLM structure does work. You actually do get paid. And, it's a fantastic opportunity. Happy to talk to you about it. Another thing about that is the company that supplies that stuff, they have a whole bunch of other things, and I use a bunch of it now, like poison-free laundry detergent and a really good multivitamin and some superfood smoothie mix stuff. I use a lot of the stuff because it's high quality things, and it's good for you. I'm trying to take sovereign control of my health as best I can, except for the stupid cookies and cake, but that's another story. There's another product coming out next month. At the end of this month, Jessica and I are actually traveling to Kansas, and then we're going to St. Joseph's. The company that I'm with that does this mature bitter hop extract stuff, it's called Fix. They're putting on one of those momentum building, team building things, and talking about a new product called Vericel. This stuff is absolutely, like, the things that we're hearing from testimonials, people using it right now, is unreal. I had very little interest in taking time out of my busy schedule to go down to the United States, to St. Joseph, and go to this event until I noticed that this product was going to drop at that event, and those who had tickets to it were going to be able to access it a month earlier. Then I was on some Zoom meetings where people who were using it were talking about it. And off the top of my head, I'm going to do a podcast on this very soon, but off the top of my head, whatever it does, it helps your cells to absorb the things they need in some sort of medical, bio-magical way. Obviously, that's not it. I'll talk about it more. But what people were saying about it is like fantastic. And so I wanted to be able to get this and try it myself and get some other people. I want to get it in front of some other people who I think could benefit, because I'm done being that scared person to talk to someone about something like this, because now I actually know 100% for sure, legit, that these things, natural stuff, is actually changing people's lives. We're not scared to talk about anything a doctor prescribes us, except for, what they tried to kill us with. Why should we be scared to talk about the OG medicine, which is plants? And that's what this is. So anyway, you're going to see that on a podcast. Hopefully we'll do it Saturday. I think that's pretty much the only day I have off to do that this week. So I'm going to talk to you guys about it. We'll do a podcast specifically on that. And don't forget, I'm going to put the link to that, to the current product, the fixed stuff, in the comment section a little bit later on. And I would encourage you, if don't let the idea that nothing can possibly work for you stop you from trying it, because there's a lot of people that have had good results. Anyway, enough about that. Read that last point again. Why does Chris talk about this stuff all the time? Why have I gone away from my, not like totally, but why have I ventured outside of my wheelhouse, which is political commentary and talking about the government and those types of things, into talking about health products? Well, it's exciting, for starters. I've always believed that plants are not the alternative medicine. They're the originals. Pharmaceuticals are the alternative medicines, in my opinion. And after what we've witnessed in the last 5 years, 6 years, it has become painfully obvious to me that we have given up, whether we knew it or not, or wanted to or not, we have given up sovereignty over our own health. We have. We got to the point where we went to a doctor and were completely fine with our symptoms being treated while the underlying disease maintained. And the conspiracy mind in me says, well, that kind of makes sense. If you're a pharmaceutical manufacturer, you want to treat the symptom, not the disease, because it's a returning customer. And then you look at the amount of money these companies are making, and it's enough to make you sick. They're doing a very good job of it. So when I hear people say, oh, when you're trying to sell this product and you're grifting. No, I'm literally trying to help people take sovereign control of their health and stop funding the beast that has no problem killing human beings for profit. Period. That's it. It was the same thing when those doctors and nurses and people spoke out during the big old C word. No, not that C word. The other one, the CVID word. Geez, people are, your minds are in the gutters. They talked about other treatments that would have made the outcome for Canada and Alberta much, much better. And they were just lambasted. They had their licenses stripped. The attacks were absolutely relentless. And it's horrible because the places that actually encouraged that, they had great results and it worked. But they didn't make as much money for the pharmaceutical manufacturers as Canada did. Watch Tiana's video. That'll give you a very interesting perspective on why those things happened and why the propaganda was so strong and why they spent so much money promoting that. And again, it's probably going to make you sick, but if you're anything like me, it's going to make you want to explore any avenue you see that has the potential of helping you take back sovereign control of your health. I have another Facebook page. It's called the Sovereign Health Project. And I dedicated that page basically to talking about matured bitter hop extract, acid extracts, that fixed stuff, because I wanted a place for my customers and my sales reps to go so they could share their stories, so that when people were talking about it, it's not just some talking head. It's like an actual person with real results who's sharing their real results and encouraging other people to try. That's called the Sovereign Health Project. It's a members invite only thing. So if you want access, just send me a message and I will do my very best to get you access to that. I'm also going to be posting testimonials about Vericel, the new product, in there as well. And, you know, I really believe that this is going to be something huge, simply because the pharmaceutical industry has been so exposed over the last, 5-6 years, and actually even going back way farther than that. But for me, the last 5-6 years, they've been exposed so much that people are hungry for change. And that's why the natural health, the nutraceutical industry it's expected to double or triple by 2030. Double or triple. That's huge. I think it's like, I can't remember the numbers are. It's in the trillions, but it's expected to triple because the veil has been pulled back and they see what's going on. And now they're exploring products that are for them, not for a shareholder. I better move on to the next one. So Strathmore tomorrow. Me and Shane Meikle and Zane Novak are in Strathmore having a town hall about Alberta independence, hoping that a lot of people show up who are opposed, hoping that people show up with questions, concerns, comments, whatever, and that we have a really, really good discussion about this. I think this is, I know this is needed in Alberta right now, because all of the talking seems to be, most of the talking seems to be happening from behind a keyboard, or it's people talking at you and telling you what to think. I want to share my opinion with you, as does Shane and Zane, and then we want to hear what you think, and we want your questions and your concerns so that we can discuss it and get to the bottom of it. What I've found so far in my advocacy for Alberta independence, every single, except for one, there's one question about Farm Credit Canada that I haven't been able to figure out yet, and it's not my wheelhouse, so I need to talk to someone smarter, but we will figure it out. But almost all of the questions or the opposition points to Alberta independence that I've been presented with, I've been able to internalize that, think about it, and turn that into a reason why we should be independent. Every single one. And there's solid arguments. Like the landlocked one is a perfect example. People, Chris, if we become independent, we're going to be landlocked. How are we going to move our stuff? Like, okay. Aren't we landlocked right now? Like, pretty sure we're landlocked. We have, we don't have a port anywhere, north, south, east, or west. So we're landlocked. And are we having much success getting our resources to Tidewater? Well, we're not. Why is that? Because we have no negotiating power. Well, why do we have no negotiating power? Because we're not sovereign. Well, how do we become sovereign? We become independent. What we really need is sovereignty. Independence is a tool to get it. So you see what I'm getting at? Everything that people talk about as a detriment or a reason why we can't be independent, if you really think about it and you dig deep, you find that it's actually a reason to be independent. So we need to have these talks. We're going to be doing it in Strathmore tomorrow. I believe I have it posted as an event on the Facebook page, so you can find the time, address, that type of thing. Stettler on Friday, we're doing another town hall, the Stettler Community Hall. We're going to start a little earlier that night because I believe there's a hockey game starting at 8. So we're going to be starting. Shane's going to kill me if I get it wrong. I believe 5:30. Again, we'll check the event on my Facebook page for the proper time, but I think it's about 5:30. That's a free pierogi dinner. We're going to cook pierogies for you and sausage and bacon and fried onions and all those things. We're going to make coffee way earlier than we did in Rimbey this time. And we're going to sit down with you folks and have a discussion about this. Come for the pierogies and sausage and stay for the conversation, I hope. The idea is that, while people are getting their food and eating their meals, we'll go around to the tables and visit with you and try and answer your questions and have one-on-one discussions as best we can. And then we'll go and give our little spiel and do a full Q&A at the end. But that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to talk, right? Somebody once told me, and he told you as well, when people stop talking, bad things happen. So we want to make sure that we always have an opportunity to talk, and you guys always, and girls, always have an opportunity to be heard. So if you disagree with me and my position on Alberta independence, come to Stettler. I will feed you supper for free, no strings, although donations are appreciated because it does cost money to do this stuff. We'll feed you for free. We'll have a conversation with you. We'll listen to your objections or your concerns, and we'll talk it out. That's it. That's what it's all about. I'm hoping it's not an echo chamber of all people who agree, although it is nice when people who agree come and we learn a little bit more from each other, and we practice talking to each other, and we give each other ideas on how we can share the merits and benefits of Alberta independence with others who aren't on board. That's important too. But we really want to get the fence sitters, or even some of the people that are opposed to the idea. So that's going to be Stettler, Friday evening, 5:30, I believe. Check the Facebook page for more details. And Strathmore's tomorrow. Then next week, we've got another 4 to do. And the week after that, we have another 4 or 5 to do. Then I'm in Kansas we're going down for a week. And when I come back, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that Jessica and I will land, and she doesn't know this yet, so she's going to kill me. Jessica and I will land in Calgary, returning from Kansas, and we'll hop on another plane and fly straight up to Fort Mac and do one in Fort Mac, because it's been a while. Last time I was there, the place was packed, and it was packed with people who were probably an average of 20 years younger than what we normally see. So for those of you that say that, why are the youth not involved? It's because they're generally working or busy going out, trying to find a partner. That's kind of what young people do. But they are concerned, and they're getting involved as well. And Fort McMurray was a great example of that. So I'm hoping that we can make that happen on April 1st. And then that'll kick off another week of events. Town halls doing the same thing all over Alberta. We're going to try and do dinner once a week. We also have some events in the works where we're going to bring in some music and have it more themed towards just kicking back a little bit, enjoying our time together, Alberta independence themed, have the conversations. But the main priority will be to have a little fun, listen to some music, have some good meals, and connect with other human beings in that kind of a setting. So we have a lot of stuff planned. Other groups like the Alberta Prosperity Project, for instance, they're aware of what we're doing, and they have an open invite to attend some of these things once they get rolling again. I'm not going to stop what I'm doing. We're going to continue this educational town hall campaign right on through, and hopefully be able to invite people from representatives from all sorts of other groups with different perspectives to have these conversations with Albertans, and enjoy some pierogies as well, because everybody loves pierogies, right? Right? Yes. Okay. It's 11 o'clock. I'm tired. I'm really, really tired. My eyes are burning, but I'm going to go through the comments really quickly. I'm hoping that you've put question marks in front of your questions. If you haven't, get your questions in now. I'm going to go through them as fast as I can, answer as many as I can before my mouth dries completely out and my lips get stuck together and my eyeballs light on fire. So here we go. Josh says, explain. We don't own our property regardless, especially in Alberta. We don't own our property. Canadians do not have property rights. There is no such thing in the Constitution or the Charter Rights and Freedoms. As a matter of fact, property rights were specifically removed from the Charter Rights and Freedoms while it was being negotiated. We don't have it. Look for it. It's not there. That means that if you have a herd of cattle, they're not actually yours. You just have custodial ownership. The government can come in and do what they want to those animals. If you have ostriches, they can come and shoot them because it's not yours. If you think that having the title to the land that you are occupying means that you can prevent anyone else from doing that stuff to your property, think again. If you look on the deed or the title to your property, your land, it will say fee simple. It is not an allodial title. It is a custodial title. That means that somebody else still owns it, but you have the privilege of being the occupant until you're basically paying for occupancy. You feel free to Google that, look it up. You'll find that I'm not wrong. And if you do think I'm wrong, please send me a private message, a direct message, and I'll talk to you about it. But I've been up one side of this and down the other, and I can't find property rights anywhere. That means that all of these ideas that we have that we can protect ourselves from government by having property, it's not real. You don't even own your bank account. If you owned your bank account, truly, the government couldn't ask the banks to freeze your assets and your bank account. They couldn't. If you owned your firearms, if they were your property, the government couldn't tell you that you weren't allowed to have them anymore. They couldn't, but they can. And they do, because you don't have property rights. Feel free to look that up. On to the next one. Does the king still own Canada? That's a very interesting question. I don't think so, but maybe someone can dig into that a little bit more for me and see what it says. I think when British Parliament passed the 31 Statute of Westminster, the Land Resource Transfer Act, previous to that, I think that kind of ended the king's ownership. However, it transferred it to a figurative crown kind of thing that holds everything in trust for the people. So I don't know. That's up in the air. You can dig into that a little bit if you want, folks. It's a pretty fun rabbit hole to go down. And it really does suck to realize why we're in the situation we are with our property. And by the way, your body is supposed to be the first piece of property you own. But guess what? You don't have property rights. More questions. Oh, okay. So I said I was going to put a link to the matured bitter hop acid extract. I'm going to do that right now, and I'll do it one more time at the end. The link that I'm posting right now it's a sign up link. When you go here, it's going to ask you to start here. You're going to scroll down, click on start here. You're going to buy a membership. And then from there, you will go and do some other things, which I will be happy to help you through. Once you get that membership, I get an email and it tells me who you are, what your email is, and that you have bought your membership. I'll get a hold of you right away and I'll help you through the rest of the process if you need me to. You can go through it as well if you want by yourself. You basically, you buy your membership, you log into your back office, you go and you do your order, and you set up your auto ship and you're set up. But I'm happy to help you through that if you need. I will even do it tonight if you send me a message quick enough, but I really will have to get to bed soon. It was also a really early morning. So there, the link is up in the comments. I believe it's in the comments on all of the different platforms. Let's go back for some more questions. Michelle asks, will you come speak at a Prairie Rising Town Hall in Saskatchewan if we can fit it into your schedule? Yes, I will. I will speak in Saskatchewan, Alberta, British Columbia, Manitoba, Prince Edward Island. I will speak anywhere. And I don't charge you to speak. However, I have to fly there because I have a very busy schedule. So you would have to pay my travel costs to come out. Other than that, we're absolutely good to go. Would be happy to do it. What else we got here? Explain the property. I just got that one. This is the tough part about not having a producer. I have to go and find the questions myself, which takes a little bit of time. And then I got to make up things to talk about to keep you interested so you don't leave the live stream while there's dead air, right? This is a great question. I get this one all the time. Do you sit down to pee? If I'm really tired, I actually do sometimes, yes. Sit down to pee, but very rarely. Most of the time, I use when I have to pee as an opportunity to shoot things in the toilet or draw circles in the snow, things like that. You have to make the most of all of the experiences in your life, even peeing. But if that means you're going to sit down to pee and you're going to doom scroll on TikTok for an hour or two, and sit there until you have to pee again. It's all good, man. Just do what you got to do. Sit or stand. It's really up to you. Yeah, hope Shane is feeling better. That cough he had was pretty bad. Yeah, hot mic with hacking and coughing into it. I had a microphone on each side of Shane's shirt. So when he went out to clear his throat and cough, it was awfully loud. I didn't realize. Sorry about that. But again, we're a grassroots organization. We're not professionals. We don't have producers, so what you get is raw, unedited, and you're going to hear the coughing. And eventually someone's going to go to the washroom and they're going to not remember that they have those mics on, and you're going to hear the washroom sounds. But I tell you, maybe we should stage that. I think that would go viral. Do you think that would go viral? People watch that stuff. Yep. Yes, it is. It is funny. Yes, farts are funny. Universal language, universal comedy. Okay. Diane says, I am wanting to know about the product that you're speaking of, please. I do all natural healing already. The product that I'm talking about is called Fix, P-H-I-X. It's marketed through Marketplace Global in an affiliate marketing program, i.e. MLM, multi-level marketing. So what Fix is it's a matured bitter hop acid extract. That's it. There's three different acids in there that are extracted from a specific type of hop. Nobody else has the process. And what it does is those bitter acids interact with the bitter receptors in your mouth, your throat, your stomach, and your intestine. And it triggers your vagus nerve to do what it's supposed to do. It ends up putting your body in rest and digest. One of the really neat things that it does, it actually makes your body think that it's poison, because bitter receptors, the poison is generally bitter. And when it's activated like that, it starts doing something cool, which is burning visceral fat, because visceral fat is what stores toxins and poisons in your body. Once your body realizes that, hey, I haven't been poisoned, it relaxes, goes into rest and digest, and amazing things happen. That gut-brain connection, that vagus nerve, is responsible for 1,100 processes in your body. 1,100. So this isn't about what the hops extract, what Fix does. It's about what it is. It is a trigger that puts your body into the state that it needs to be in to do the things that God created it to do, to promote your health. So, for those of you that take vitamins or extracts or whatever, this is a perfect supplement to your health regime, in that it's not the building blocks that you're putting in your body like vitamins and stuff. It's preparing your body to use those building blocks in the proper way. That's why it's so exciting. And nobody else has it. I actually checked Amazon when it was pitched to me. There are hops products out there, but nothing like this. Nobody else has the process. It's a patent pending process. Nobody else can do it. So that's why this specifically is the real deal. Okay. Can you share your other page, please? If you're watching on Facebook, I have two Facebook pages. One is the Whistle Stop Cafe. The other is Christopher Scott, just my name. I don't even tell you that it's the real Christopher Scott, because you can tell because I'm there. But the other page is called the Sovereign Health Project. And if you, how do I get you to it? I think you can search it and you can request membership, and I have to actually approve it. So that's what it is. The Sovereign Health Project has little like green leaves kind of beside it. And I think it's the only one named that anyway. What do we got here? Shelly is a Fix user as well. I use Fix from MPG, Balance Oil from Zinzino, and Lactigo and Young Living Essential Oils. Yeah, all fantastic products. And for people that are serious about their health, that know that the things that are marketed to us from the pharmaceutical manufacturers are not health outcomes, that these are the things that we need to start with before we try to treat symptoms with pharmaceuticals. And more questions. Those question marks are really important, folks. It makes it so much easier to find your questions. Well, obviously, because they're question marks. How long will it be before Health Canada removes access to this product? I was just on a Zoom call with my friend, Mr. Sean Buckley, and his lovely wife, Teresa, today. Sean Buckley is a lawyer that's been fighting Health Canada for years. He's the one that exposed that Health Canada is not mandated to ensure our health. They're actually mandated to protect the intellectual property of pharmaceutical manufacturers. If you don't believe that, look it up. It's on court record, and you can find it if you try hard enough. Health Canada is trying to reclassify all nutraceuticals and vitamins and stuff like that, supplements, as drugs, which means they would have to go through the same approval process and it would be absolutely devastating to the natural remedy nutraceutical industry. Absolutely devastating. Sean is spearheading a campaign that's fighting back against that. I would encourage you, if you're concerned about that, to go follow his page and support the work that he's doing. That's Sean Buckley, and it is the Brent, if you can remember, if you can put in the comments the NSPPA or NSPAA. I can't remember what it is. Anyway, someone will put it in the comments. But if you look up Sean Buckley, you'll find it. He was also the moderator or head lawyer or litigator or something for the National Citizens Inquiry. So you can also find him there. More questions. My lovely girlfriend just got home, so now I want to go to bed. Did you see me winking? That's me winking. Yeah, she thinks it's pretty hot. Did you think that was hot? The way I winked? Yeah, I knew it. Okay, 60 billion annually nationwide, and they can't fix their drinking water infrastructure. Give us a break. I don't think I really even need to say anything. It's said. It's out. Now someone's going to call me a racist. Oh, this is a great comment. Dixie says, interesting. Too bad it's multiple level marketing. I'd still love to try it. How much does it cost? Where can I get it? Well, I share your sentiment. I am the guy who would not allow MLM products to be sold at my markets because I find MLM annoying until I came across this and I dug a little bit. I scratched below the surface and I realized the reason why this is an MLM structure. It's because the product needs a story. This isn't something you can sit on a shelf in a store. And actually, they wanted to originally market it in liquor stores of all places, because one of the other things that matured bitter hop acids do is they trigger your body to start metabolism again. When you drink alcohol, your body stops metabolizing. Google that, ask ChatGPT. When you use matured bitter hop acid extracts, your body starts metabolizing again. So the idea was, we're going to market this in liquor stores because it will help people sober up. But that wouldn't have worked. It would have sat there and probably not been much. However, if you encourage people to try a product and then share the results with others, and you financially compensate them for doing that instead of paying millions of dollars to a marketing company, now you have a real sales team that grows and grows and grows. And the sales team in MPG that's basically mostly all talking about fix is 87,000 people, which sounds like a lot until you realize that collectively Canada and the United States have something like 420 million people or something like that. It's a big number. And there's only 87,000 using it already. So if you're one of those people that says, oh, well, everyone's already in, there's no way I'm going to make any money. There's only 87,000 people in, and it's only been out for 18 months. So there's a huge opportunity. Anyway, how much does it cost for a non-rep? It costs like $130 Canadian or something like that. I can't actually remember. It's cheaper when you're a rep. It's cheaper when you are a sales rep. And that's pretty much everybody they sign up. I encourage them to go that way because they get their product cheaper. If they use it for 3 months, it's the cost difference is a wash anyway. And once you have good results and you start sharing with people like I did, you start to earn a little bit of money for being a salesperson for a product that's actually doing something good for you and your health, right? That's why it's an MLM product. The link that I put up there, that's how you get it. In Canada, I cannot sell it. I can't resell it to you. You can only buy it for yourself to use. And the reason is because where the United States treats nutraceuticals as if they were food, which is correct, Canada treats nutraceuticals as if they are a drug, which is incorrect. But because they treat it like that, we can't sell it or resell it because we're not allowed to resell drugs in Canada, if that makes any sense. But anyway, I did post the link. I'll pop it up here one more time. I don't like to flood the comment section with the link too much because I think that's tacky. Anyway, I'm going to go right up to the top of the comments and I'm going to start scrolling down so I make sure that no one in the beginning gets missed. Wow, people from all over the place. Vancouver Island, Edmonton, Calgary, Nova Scotia, Spruce Grove, Ponoka, more Edmonton. Yeah, silver maples. People knew what these coins were that increased in value sixfold since I got them in 2021. 115 an ounce. Yeah. Ghetto Blaster. Yes, that is awesome, isn't it? Something's happened to me in the last little while. I've become nostalgic. I think I'm going through a midlife crisis. If you scroll on Facebook long enough, you're going to come across these nostalgia reels, and there's going to be some music playing like Eyes Without a Face, by Billy Idol. Yeah, Billy Idol. Classic 80s. You hear the song and you are immediately transported back to that time, to that place. You can smell the couch again. Like, you know what I mean. When I watch those videos, I find myself wanting to dive into the screen and go back to that time. Do you know what I'm talking about? I had no idea how amazing it was to live in the 80s, to have one of those type of ghetto blasters, listening to a cassette tape that I recorded off the radio, waiting days to make the mixtape, probably giving it to some girl that didn't like me anyway. So that's why I have that ghetto blaster. That's why I have this here, and I never play it because I don't have time. I have a original Nintendo Entertainment System because I like to remember my childhood and the way I felt back then. We had no cell phones. We had no pagers. We were outside all the time. If we went inside and complained that we were bored, we had to do chores. So we stayed outside. But at Christmas time, our family was together. We were excited to see each other. We had family meals. We did all those things, It was, it felt so good. And I had no idea how good it was until now. I'm thinking back to how I felt back then. That's why I have things like that ghetto blaster. That's why I have the Nintendo Entertainment System. That's why I wish I could show you. That's why I have a 1960s, Jess? The chair?
Probably.
A 1960s or so, tan, yellow, orange, and red floral print rocking chair in my living room, and why I'm going to get a matching living room set, right?
No.
She says no, but I'm doing it. That's why I have that, because it reminds me of a better time. Way off track. Nostalgia videos, awesome. Someone asked, can I take the coins to the bank and they'll give you 120 for each ounce? No, you can't. You take it to a silver buyer, or personally, I prefer to sell privately to other individuals who enjoy buying metals and stacking gold. Because why would I want a bank involved? Oh my goodness. Someone says, I saw a video today. Mitch Sylvester is a Freemason. What are your thoughts? I don't honestly care if he is or not. I do not believe that Freemasons are some evil secret society. If they were, you wouldn't know about them. I actually have friends who are Freemasons, and they're completely normal people. They have never accidentally tried to order baby on the menu at the restaurant, so I don't think they eat them. They're just normal people. But whether or not Mitch is a Freemason is 100% completely irrelevant to me. It might be more relevant to other people. If it is relevant to you, I actually would like to hear why it is. Please put it in the comments. Send me a direct message, and I'm interested in your perspective on that. Now, if he was a liberal, I would have a problem with that, for sure. More comments. That might be it, which is good because my eyeballs are going to light on fire right away, and it's bedtime. Lots on the silver. Oh, by the way, I've referred over 100 people to a company that buys and sells metals, bullion, lends against it, the whole 9 yards. If you're interested in something like that, you want to know how to buy precious metals, what it all means, and how to protect your wealth in the event of financial instability resulting from, 15% of a country's GDP leaving. Send me a message and I'll connect you with someone that can help you out. And he's definitely one of us on our team. More questions. Yes, I got hit by a train after I bought the whistle stop. And really, I wish I should have sued, because it cost me a crap ton of money. I lost my vehicle. I had a $3,000 towing bill and a $1,200 ambulance fire truck bill that I didn't even use. I couldn't even get in to see a doctor, by the way. And a train hit me at a private crossing in the winter with no signs and snow berms beside each, so that you couldn't even tell there's tracks there until you're at the tracks. And apparently in Alberta, trains don't have to blow their whistle when they're going past a private crossing, even if visibility is limited and there's trees on both sides and you can't see the train tracks. So I was hit because there was no signage. It wasn't because, it wasn't for any other reason. I was pushed 450 feet down the railroad tracks sideways in my Jeep Grand Cherokee. I could reach out. It hit me on my left-hand side, broke a bunch of my ribs. I could reach out and touch the front of the train. And I remember thinking, I wonder what this is going to feel like when I go under the train, because I thought that's what's going to happen. I thought the car was just going to get, chewed up and then we'd get sucked under and it would all be over. Carrie was beside me and he was just going like this. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I was like trying to drive off the tracks because I don't know, probably in shock because there's a train right here. Like it was that close to me. If you come to the Whistle Stop Cafe on the photos that go on the TVs, you'll see a picture of my Jeep. The driver's side is completely collapsed. It peeled the wheels off. The rim, one of the rims was busted right in half. It kind of spat my Jeep out. Like I kind of turned and it spat me out into the ditch. But then I'm looking in my rearview mirror and I'm watching the train peeling the back of my car off as it went by and like sucking the car back into the train. So we got spat out and I was like, oh, we're going to live. And then it starts sucking us back in. I'm like, oh, now we're going to die backwards. This is great. So yeah, I did get hit by a train. Cost me a pile of money. I'm still paying insurance premiums that are way higher than I should because they say I struck a train. I didn't struck a train. The train struck me because there was no signage. But there's a sign there now. Imagine that. Anywho, bingo. The product monographs told us they were never proven safe nor effective. But your government told you that. Your politicians told you that. Your doctors told you that. Your union told you that. All of those people that claimed authority over you told you that it was safe and effective, and some people were killed, others were maimed, some lost their loved ones. It was absolutely horrendous what happened, and I am gleefully awaiting the day that there is some accountability, although we might not see it in this lifetime. What is the movie called? The movie is called The Shot, Sean Hartman's story. It's it's a Jason Levine production. If you go to his Facebook page or his website, jasonlevine.com, or the jasonlevineshow.com, you'll find it there. He's got it advertised everywhere. What else have we got? I don't see any more question marks. Here we go. The Shot is coming to Medicine Hat at the Monarch Theater on March 12th, free admission. Bring enough money to buy a copy of the DVD or the thumb drive so you can share it with your friends and family, and maybe throw a couple bucks in the hat to help cover the cost of this type of thing. This type of work is really important. Government's not doing it. It's always people that can't afford it trying to do it on behalf of everyone else, so support them when you can. Yeah, that's right. Movie is called The Shot. An absolute must-see. Why is a person paying property tax for what you don't own? Property tax should be abolished, and we should own our land. But one has to happen before the other. We can fix that in an independent Alberta if we choose. It's up to us what we put in our constitution. I will be a fierce advocate for property rights, for sure. Yeah, I agree. They don't care about First Nations. They just need an excuse to take your property. Yep, absolutely. We were saying that years ago when UNDRIP was coming in and they were implementing it or adopting it. When DRIPA was in British Columbia, we were saying these things and people said, oh, you're just it's too much ivermectin. You ate too much horse paste and shit too much and now your brain's not working. Well, no, our brains were working just fine. It was almost like we were prophesizing about what was going to happen. Weird, hey? I think that's it for... Oh, here we go. Who was it, folks? What political party was in power when Canada agreed to the UN SDGs. Who was it? He was an Albertan. It was a conservative government. That's right. You know it. Who were first? I don't know. I have no idea who was first. I had this conversation with my good friend Leighton Gray. He had a little bit of an issue with the term First Nations too, because if you kind of look into the history of the North American Indians who were here before we were, they had territorial conflict and all stuff like that all the time. They warred with each other. They killed each other. They were engaged in slave trade, all sorts of things, just like everywhere else in the world. So those that are claiming that they were first because they were the ones that were there when the treaty negotiators came, many of them weren't actually first. There might have been 3 or 4 or 5 tribes before them that had been in some sort of conflict and either been removed from the area or all killed. So it's a pretty interesting history if you go further than what the high school textbooks tell you. Yes, that's right. It was Mr. Stephen Harper, 100%. Yep. Stephen Harper signed Canada on. Yep. Well, politicians only do what they think the people want. At that time, they believed that the people of Canada, probably most people in the East, wanted that. So that's what they did. Yes, I remember Sheila Annette Lewis. Sheila Annette Lewis was murdered by government policy. Not government policy. They were murdered by AHS policy. She was murdered by AHS policy. She's not the first. Have you ever heard the phrase, if you see a spider, there's 1,000 more you don't see? We witnessed what happened to Sheila Annette Lewis. She died because the Alberta Health Services demanded that she take the COVID vax before she got her transplant. She needed a transplant. And she wasn't that old when she passed away, by the way. And she said, no, I'm not doing that. Like it's just not happening. And so they let her die. There's a lot of others in that same situation. Sheila Annette Lewis is not the only story. She's just the one that we all know about. But there's hundreds more stories like that. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all I can do for tonight. It's getting pretty late. Thanks for sticking with me for so long. It's been an hour and a half. I thought I was going to do like 45 minutes, but oops. Thanks for watching. Tomorrow we'll be in Strathmore. Friday we're going to be in Stettler doing a free pierogi supper and an independence discussion, specifically a discussion. So we hope to see you there, especially if you're not on board. For those of you folks in and around the Stettler area, if you have people in your circle who are not aligned with you in your pursuit of an independent Alberta or have concerns, please invite them to attend. Please lure them in with pierogies if you have to, but get them there. And I am 100% willing to have any conversation with any person that is against Alberta independence at almost any time, specifically in Stettler during the free pierogi dinner. Have a great night, everyone. You want to see Stumpy? Of course you do. See you tomorrow night. Where is she? Sorry, I'm not prepared. See you tomorrow night. Meow. Did you know silver is also a health product? Neat, hey?